Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to day 2 of the Holiday Card Series for 2019. The Holiday Card Series is a series of 25 holiday cards, all uploaded on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Time through December 20th. So make sure you check back on Wednesday for day 3. Today's card uses a stamp set from Concord and Ninth. It's called Silent Night, and this stamp set is really versatile. There's a lot of different images on it, different ways you can take your card. Today I'm going to keep it really simple with some ink blending and some heat embossing, and let's get into it. I love the look of this stamp set. I think it's so cute. There's a lot of different things you can do with this. You can do the foliage, you can do the like the little cradle, you could do Come Let Us Adore Him, or you could do the Silent Night. There's a lot of different things you could do with this stamp set. I'm going to create a very small scene here with sort of like a sky background behind the lettering and the little cradle, and then I'm going to have some stars onto the side. Because I'm making a 5x7 card and I am going to put this through the mail, I'm going to be very conscious of the fact that I want this to be a flat card. I don't want it to be too bulky. So in order to eliminate too many layers, I've decided to mask off the outer, kind of like outer border, about an inch off each side, using some Post-it tape, and then I'm using some different colors of Distress Oxide ink, as well as a blending brush from Honeybee. So I started out with Tumbled Glass, and I'm now using Broken China, and I'm actually blending from the bottom up. On the finished card, it's actually going to be flipped so that it fades toward the bottom, but I found that it was just a little bit easier to blend and getting a nice soft fade out if I blended from the bottom up. So after I had Broken China, I used some Chipped Sapphire, and this is going to intensify that color on the very bottom. And I'm just trying to make sure that I don't have too much of a saturated color so that I can't really fade it out near the top. So I'm being very cautious of how much color I have near the top. I then decided to grab some black soot and even further intensify that color down at the bottom, just because after I had it kind of blended on there, there was so much of that chipped sapphire on the one end. I decided, it really needs to blend even more than that. So I brought in some black soot, and then I kind of worked backwards from there. I went back to chipped sapphire and added a little bit of that color in, blended it up, and then I brought in some Broken China, brought that color across, trying to get as much of that color blended out and a seamless soft fade as possible. And then I grabbed Tumbled Glass and did just a tiny bit of blending right up there near the top so it blends out to that really pretty pale blue and then into the white shade. I wanted it to be a really soft gradient background. So now I'm going to peel up the Post-it tape, and this really is the best part of masking when doing blending, is when you have a nice clean blend and you have that crisp line. So I'm going to flip this back around. This is how it's actually going to be on the card. And then I actually set this aside and I worked on a different card. It's one you'll see coming up. I worked on a different card for about an hour. So this was drying for about an hour. I wanted to make sure that this Distress Oxide ink blending was completely dry before I moved on to any stamping, because I am going to be doing heat embossing, and any heat embossing powder, it will stick to areas that the ink isn't completely dry. Thankfully, this was completely dry. I also took a very cautionary step using an anti-static powder tool, and then I placed the Oh Come Let Us Adore Him stamp right over the top. I'm using my Misty stamp tool for this so that I can get a really nice impression. And I stamped this greeting in Versamark ink. Versamark's great for heat embossing since it remains sticky for quite some time after you initially stamp it. Sprinkled on some Brutus Monroe Alabaster embossing powder, tapped off the excess, and then hit that with my heat tool until it was smooth and melted. This gives me a nice bright white greeting. I then took some Versamark ink and I stamped the cradle down at the bottom. And this time I coated it with some gilded embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. This is a nice gold shade. And I hit that with my heat tool to melt that once again. And then I moved away from my MISTI stamp tool since I was going to stamp some stars with little individual shapes. So I stamped some little outline stars and also solid stars up in the top right corner and the bottom left corners. And then I used some gilded embossing powder. It's the same gold shade I used on the cradle. And I wanted to add quite a few of those stars, kind of giving a line of sight going from that bottom corner up to the top corner. And I wanted even more detail, so then I brought in a Uniball Signal pen. This is one of the thinner pens. This is the gold shade, and I added some little dots as stars, and I also drew some actual star shapes, just some really tiny ones, since the stamp set didn't have even smaller stars that could be stamped separately. At this point, I realized that my cardstock was cut to the wrong size. I don't know how I didn't notice till just now, but I ended up having to trim off 1/4 inch off each side, and each side only, keeping the height. And that makes it so it's the perfect size to go on a 5x7 card. So I put some foam tape on the back and then pressed it down onto the card front. Just so you know, the white cardstock I used for both the blending and the card base is Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 110-pound cardstock. And that completely finishes the card for today. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this card and if you would recreate it. I think it'd be really fun. You could change up the colors of the blending. And if you wanted to duplicate this card over and over for all of your holiday cards, like a large amount of holiday cards, you definitely could do that. I would recommend doing everything in batches. So do all of your ink blending all at the same time, and then go back and do all of your stamping and embossing at the same time. Do it in sections and do it in batches, and it will work up so fast. It will really surprise you. On screen, I've got the 3 previous years of the holiday card series. These are all day 2 videos. And like I've done in the past, I will list all 10 previous years of the holiday card series. I'll have links to all those videos for day 2 down below in the video description, so you can check those out. Thanks so much for watching today. I will be back on Wednesday for day 3.